Is it good?
Yeah, cheese and crack.
You have to be present to it.
Biofuel crops not only displace food crops, but are in some cases providing energy sources that are potentially more damaging to the environment than fossil fuels. Sir Malcolm, a British Conservative Party politician and Member of Parliament. Who here has stopped to fill up their car and use fuel made from biofuel? It is probable that you did not even consider the implications of using biofuels, which include worsening the current food shortage problem. The practice of using biofuels has exacerbated the food shortage problem today and will worsen the food shortage in the future. The next time you drive by a cornfield, stop and look. A third of that cornfield will not go towards filling hungry people, but go towards filling up your gas tank. If the practice of using food crops as biofuels was discontinued, the food shortage today would shrink. Biofuel is taking food that could be used to feed the hungry population and is exacerbating the food shortage problem that exists in the world today. According to the Daily Times, food wastage occurs in both developed and developing countries, but for two different reasons. In developed countries, food wastage occurs due to mass consumerism. The mass consumerism causes markets to stock their shelves with a large amount of food that they cannot possibly sell before it goes bad. And so that food is thrown away and is wasted. In developing countries, there is a food wastage due to the inability to transport food from its originating location to its final end consumer, which also creates a food shortage. For developing countries, the probability of a food shortage is very real and very scary, whereas in developed countries, the possibility of a food shortage seems far-fetched and impossible. Biofuel crops are crops that are grown as an alternative fuel source. Biofuels take away from crops that could be grown for food, which would help to reduce the food shortage. Biofuels are having a large negative impact on the global food security by causing higher and more unpredictable food prices, according to Farmers Weekly. The European Union has created a renewable transportation fuel obligation with the goal to have 10% of transportation energy to originate through renewable sources by the year 2020. If reached, this goal will cause extreme increases in food prices due to the even greater increase in the use of crops for biofuels. The UK government has been asked to redesign the renewable transport fuel obligation to exclude agriculturally produced biofuels. So what can we do about the food shortage today? Along with scientific advances that involve crops, such as more crops planted per acre, drought-resistant crops, and no-till farming, the use of crops as a biofuel needs to stop. The main reason behind the food shortage today is not a huge increase in the world's population. It is because of biofuels. In 2007, corn was sold at $2 a bushel, which was before the Bush administration increased the ethanol mandate. By 2011, after the Bush administration increased the ethanol mandate, corn was selling at almost $8 a bushel. At the same time that corn was selling at $8 a bushel, there were food riots that were occurring in developing countries because of food shortages. All of this is according to the Brown Journal of World Affairs. The gain from ethanol is not worth the loss in food production. Approximately 1/3 of the American corn crop goes to produce ethanol. After factoring the costs associated with growing the corn and refining it to make ethanol, the corn produces 160 gallons of ethanol per acre. In other words, a acre of corn could keep 7 family cars running for 1 week, or that same acre of corn could feed an entire family for a year. Congress capped the ethanol production at 15 billion gallons per year, but farmers have enjoyed the increased prices of their food crops, and so they are turning to alternative crops that could also be made into biofuels, such as beets, which will only worsen the food shortage problem we are facing today. Discontinuing the use of food crops as biofuels will increase the amount of food available to the world population, but a second part of the solution is also needed. A sustainable food source needs to be implemented that is capable of feeding the world's growing population. Sustainable means different things to different people. According to the Nutrition Bulletin, in 2005, World Summit at the United Nations General Assembly described 3 pillars of sustainability as social, environmental, and economic. The sustainability of food cannot just be measured by one of these aspects, but must be measured by all 3 aspects in order to create a well-rounded, complete picture of the situation. By 2050, the world population is estimated to be approximately 9 billion people. That is an additional 3 billion people compared to today's world population. There is no denying that a food shortage exists today, and that this shortage will be much more severe in 40 years when there is an additional 3 billion mouths to feed. The solution to this problem is not a simple fix, and it will take more than one plan of action to correct. In order to feed the growing population of tomorrow, we need to take action today. This action can start with discontinuing the use of food crops as an alternative fuel source.